Hey Bat fans, Luke here, back to talk another Bat book, and this one will be about Batman Sins of the Father, issue number 1. This particular title was originally supposed to be only slated to be a 6-issue miniseries, but what gives me cause for somewhat initial confusion is that lately when DC's been doing, if it's been a miniseries, they'll put right here, 1 of 6 miniseries or whatnot. But it's missing that particular label in this issue, so I don't know, but we'll see. But yeah, this title is actually based off of the Batman Telltale video game, which there are currently 2 of. First one just being Batman Telltale series. The next one, which I have not played yet. The first one was really good, which a lot of this particular issue in itself goes after the first game. But the second one, Batman Enemy Within, I just haven't had a chance to play it simply because of time. But yeah, those Telltale games, you can sit there and play. You can binge play it in just a couple days, and that's being comfortable because they are really good. They really do engross you. Time flies, and it's not really a typical video game as you might think. If you remember back in the day when you get those books where you have to make a decision, and then based off your decision you'll go from one page to the next or whatnot. That's basically Batman Sins of the Father. It's basically a story that you're going around every once in a while. You'll have to make a decision and kind of dictate where the story goes. And like I said, the last one was really, really good. Makes you really look at the Wayne family in a totally different lens. And it did set up, I think, a lot of the characters you're getting in the second game. But that's more in the video game. Whereas this one, I just kind of want to talk about the books. And I will say for the most part, it's not the first time DC has really decided to base a series off a video game. Most recently, obviously, Injustice, which is an awesome series. It's a long-running series. I know we're on volume 2, but the first volume it had, or is it, I don't even know technically what you call it, but there's basically 2 called. We'll just call it that. There's 5 or 6 years plus the Ground Zero run of the first year, and then obviously going into the second part where Tom Taylor jumped back on. It's a fantastic read. Definitely puts the DC universe in something that is not normally what we would consider canon, but definitely interesting, engrossing read. If you haven't read any of the Injustice stuff, start from the beginning. Unfortunately, that one I think you can't just jump right now, fresh or kind of in the dark of what's been going on in the rest of the Injustice universe. You might need some prior knowledge to fully grasp how people are interacting with who, how you get some level of disdain between certain people. You read the rest of the stuff, it kind of puts more in context. Then before that, it's kind of off the top of my head, they had the Arkham Unhinged series, which kind of goes with Arkham City, which originally they had just Batman Arkham City, which was just freaking phenomenal. Then they actually had Paul Dini actually write that book. And then it kind of went into Arkham Unhinged, and that one was kind of hit or miss. Again, that goes off of Arkham City. Trying to think, was there anything else, at least Batman related, they had with the book? I'm sure there's some obvious ones, but they've been pretty good. I said Arkham Unhinged, after they actually had Arkham City, the one actually done by Paul Dini, Arkham Unhinged kind of floated along. I know there's got to be some other one they did off the video game. Maybe not, who knows. But yeah, Arkham Knight, duh. Tomasi, that one was freaking good too. I will say the 6-issue mini that actually had the origin of the Arkham Knight was, I think, might sound blasphemous to some, but I think it was better than the main run of Arkham Knight. But still, Arkham Knight was pretty solid. Well, I think toward the end of it, just get kind of a little tired. But maybe why this is making this just a mini series might actually work out a little bit better. But obviously, this is not new territory. DC trying to capture on the success of the Batman Telltale series, because it is really good. But this issue number 1. This is done by Christoph Gage, which correct me if I'm my memory, because he'd been on that thing for so freaking long. Never mind. The current writer of Amazing Spider-Man. I'm not gonna say his name. I think Christoph Gage did some stuff with him, or is he even doing it currently? I can't remember. But I think obviously Christoph Gage actually did some Marvel work, and the artist on this particular issue is Raf Ienko, and I'm not really sure if Ienko is going to be like the long-term, the whole series artist, or just this one particular issue, but I like his art. Before going any further, this is the actual variant cover I got here as well. And this is kind of what you see in the video game. This is actually like a still frame of the video game. This is what Batman looks in the video game, which is I really do enjoy. The design for Batman in in the Telltale world. There's only one thing I kind of cringe at a little bit. There's some discs you really can't see here. You might see some inside the book, where on the side of his head, right by his ears, they're kind of like discs. I understand they're protecting his ears and all, but it just looks kind of weird. But back to Ienko, I think I'm saying his name correctly. If you've been looking at some of the Batman variant covers, like if you look at the variant cover we just had, I did for the video for Batman 41, I actually had the variant cover, and it was done by Oliver. Oh boy, why am I having a freaking brain fart? Oliver. I don't think it was Campbell, but anyway, the current artists who are doing the variant covers for Batman right now, you're going to see a lot of similarities between the art in here and that artist. Not as polished as the one that's doing the variant covers, but still pretty good. And it's this one again, kind of like when I see right there. You see the ears on Batman. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It looks kind of odd. But this one, much like Batman, issue number 41. Nah, maybe not some. I was going to say this is kind of like an introductory issue, which kind of what it is. But basically what's coming about this is that right now in Gotham there's a power struggle between all the gang. You know, the Falcones and the, I was going to say Maronis, but I don't think it's the Maronis. Bertinellis. Right now there's a power vacuum, and they're basically trying to take control of Gotham. And right now Batman and GCPD are kind of stuck between each other as this is going down. And that's kind of like one plot of the story. And another plot of the story is right now what's happening is Wayne Industries is being kind of put in a bad spot right now. Because this is where events from Batman the Telltale series, the video game, the first one, kind of correlates into the bulk of the story, what's going on in this issue. And I almost have to spoil it, but that game's been out for a while and whatnot. I almost don't want to spoil too much of this issue in particular, but I will say that without spoiling too much, the Wayne family, when I mean Wayne, Thomas and Martha, in this particular, let's call it it's, I don't want to say it's a universe, but it probably is. Through this lens, that the Wayne family is not held in the highest regard. Martha, not as much. She might just be guilty by association. But Thomas, in particular, is seen as not really a good guy. And that's putting it really lightly. I want to say there's a lot of shady things that he did in Arkham Asylum based off the first video game, which correlates into this story. And it is touched upon what he did in his time in Arkham as a doctor, which is now leading to all these lawsuits of medical malpractice and ethics, whatnot, and basically just like we had in The Dark Knight Rises, the Wayne, or even Batman Eternal. The Wayne Enterprises is crumbling right now. Bruce is just trying to prop up, but at the same time trying to atone for the sins of his father. So he's got some empathy, whereas he's trying to keep the business together, not really for himself, but also because he wants to honor the legacy of his mother, which he thought has a big play in Wayne Industries. And we're just there's Thomas right there in a flashback. I kind of get what I'm saying. But at the same time, he understands clearly what his father did was wrong, and he doesn't hold him as high regard as much, because obviously he understands what he did. Which, by the way, freaking stoked for this. The last issue of Metal. How I'm going to do a Metal review at some point, I'm going to have to do it, because I got some thoughts on it, but I'm enjoying the heck out of it. Without its flaws. But anyway, So basically, he understands he's got to atone for the sins of his father. He's got to help the people that were rightfully so suffered tragedy and stress and the family just horrors that he's got to atone for. That's also what he partially needs Wayne Enterprises for. But and that's basically what he's trying to do. Keep it afloat amidst all this chaos. But again, it appears that someone doesn't want Bruce to obviously keep Wayne Enterprises propped up because, yeah, you'll see toward the end, and there is a cliffhanger that shows up, which a classic Batman villain does pop up. I understand why he might be hired to come, but I'm just hoping it's not just a flash in the pan. Let's bring him in just to sell some books type of thing, especially if you're following Suicide Squad, and it's not Harley Quinn. I spoke too much. But anyway. But yeah, that's basically the bulk of the issue. A lot of it is, again, rehashing the stuff that we learned in the video game. So this is a good thing. If you haven't necessarily played the video game, the first one, I don't necessarily think you need to know that coming in, because I think a lot of that is explained really well, actually, in this issue. Again, the art in this is real. I like this art. Again, very much like we saw in that Batman variant. There's only one panel which made me kind of look at it weird. It was like during the opening fight between the gangs. Batman was actually kicking somebody, and it just looks like the angle is just way off. Let's see if I can find it. There's actually two things. We'll get back to that page in a minute. Where are you? Here, he's getting shot, so that should be right here. Okay. So you see Batman kicking somebody, and someone just flashing out to the side. Unless he's doing some crazy round kick, I just don't know. Just the choreography, if I'm saying the word right, just looked off. Because I'm thinking that Batman's kicking that person forward, and then he's falling off to the side. And again, if that's some round kick, that's a full-grown adult, and to make an impact like that, where he's falling, 15 feet, maybe not 15 feet. Well, we'll say conservatively, 5 feet away from the point of impact, and your feet are that far apart from impact. I'm sorry, this would be shattered. But maybe that's just me. I got it. Comic art. It is what it is. That was only like the major faux pas. There's another faux pas in this. Not really a faux pas. This is just personal taste at this point. To be honest, I dig the design for Commissioner Gordon. I don't have an issue with that. I do have an issue with Alfred, especially in this. It looks like he got buck teeth. This is kind of using the Chris Nolan, Alfred, Michael Caine approach to Alfred, I think, which I'm okay with. But it's just he just looks a little, I don't know, not Alfred-y per se. But again, the cliffhanger, we'll see. I mean, Batman's now on the hunt for not only between these gangs going on, and then now it looks like someone who's being involved in some way the fall of Wayne Industries, Wayne Enterprises, whatever I think they call it, Wayne Enterprises in this issue. But yeah, this was solid. Again, this really does take a way of looking at the Wayne family in a totally different point of view for what you might be used for, or used to. Again, Thomas Wayne is not an angel by any means of the stretch of imagination in the Telltale universe, which makes this a fresh and interesting look at the world of Batman through this lens. Because again, it's definitely not canon, definitely not in continuity, but in the vein of like that Injustice 2, where you can kind of take the great DC characters there and now and just do some things that you more normally wouldn't be able to, and adapt it to a great story. I think you're going to get that in this series. And again, part of me hopes this is only 6 issues, because I think you can tell a really good self-contained, great short story in just 6 issues, where it then doesn't get kind of like tired out like it did with Arkham Knight. Not the the Genesis, the 6-issue mini, which again, it was a 6-issue mini. I think it went like 20 issues, if I remember correctly. And it started off really good, but then just kind of petered out toward the end. I think you can tell a great story. Again, the elements in this really does lend it to just a really interesting story that, again, you wouldn't be able to get in a normal Batman book. And it is messed up. And they can really elaborate on the time with Thomas and Arkham. So, but we'll see. I'm giving this a solid 3.5 out of 5. Very close to a 4 if that cliffhanger, again, it just felt kind of out of place. I understand why the person's doing what he's doing, but I just don't think it's just necessary to have him come into the story. But I'm definitely intrigued, and I'm definitely excited to see where they take this. So 3.5 out of 5. I recommend this. Again, this is not your typical Batman book. You get the typical Batman, fighting, punching, gang, whatever. But the background story with the Wayne family definitely is something very fresh that we haven't seen in a minute. I think if I had to compare it to anything, I have to go back to this the Flashpoint, where we actually had Thomas Wayne Senior, Thomas, and what happened with his mother and the Joker. That's the type of lens of storytelling you're getting here. It's definitely something you're not used to. So anyway, highly recommend it. So anyway, until next video, which should be next week, where we talk Detective, which will be interesting, because I know come May we're going to see a change in Detective. So we'll see how this is kind of laid the rest of the road out for Detective going forward, and I'm sure we'll kind of talk about it at that time. So anyway, until next video, hit me up in the comments below. We can chat about this particular issue. If you played the game, definitely love to chat about it, especially the first one. Again, second one didn't play yet, but I'm all about talking about the game too, because that first game was just freaking awesome. So anyway, until next time, take care.